The Dark Lord ruled for ages uncounted. His iron fist crushed all hope. The world lived under his oppressive shadow. Fear was the air they breathed. Despair was the water they drank. His name a whispered curse. For centuries his reign was absolute, an endless night. No dawn ever seemed to break upon the suffering lands. His power was a fearsome thing. His victories were grim legends. Yet a profound weariness settled deep within him. Immortality was not a gift. It was a cruel, unending burden. The centuries stretched before him, each more hollow than the last. He yearned for an end. He longed for the sweet release of oblivion. His very existence had become a torment. He had seen empires rise and fall. He had outlived gods and monsters. No rebellion ever truly threatened his throne. The gods, if they watched, offered no solace. His dark fortress, once a symbol of his dominion, now felt like a gilded cage. The echoes of past triumphs were bitter reminders of his current unending misery. He was a king of sorrow, trapped by his own might. A desperate, dangerous idea began to smoulder, a flicker in the vast darkness of his mind. If no champion could defeat him, then perhaps he could create one. He would engineer his own destruction, a long, intricate gamble for final peace. This became his secret, burning ambition. His only escape lay in a carefully orchestrated end. The Dark Lord gathered the scattered remnants of his ancient foes. He granted them lands, a place to rebuild, a new kingdom carved from the edges of his vast empire. He named it Ethelgard, the noble guard, a bitter jest, perhaps, or a desperate, fragile prayer for his own demise. He watched them sow their fields, their hatred for him a silent, fertile seed. He allowed them a dangerous degree of autonomy. He let them govern themselves mostly. He permitted them to foster their own traditions, their own warriors. He even let old prophecies resurface, whispers of a hero, a saviour yet to come. He needed them to believe in such a figure. He needed them to hope so that his own hope for an end might live. Among these rekindled tales, one prophecy took deep root. When the seventh star of the seventh house shines brightest, it was said, a hero shall be born, a champion to shatter the eternal chains, a light to banish the endless shadow. The Dark Lord heard these whispers. He did not crush them. He let them spread, like a dark gardener tending a very specific, vital bloom. Generations passed. Ethelgard grew, a kingdom built upon defeat, yet it was fueled by a singular burning purpose, to one day challenge the Dark Lord. The Dark Lord watched from his obsidian tower, a silent, patient predator. He waited for his executioner. His own oblivion was the ultimate prize he sought. His patience was as vast as his despair. 7 long generations lived and died in Ethelgard. Hope, once a mere ember, now blazed like a forge. Then the celestial signs appeared, as foretold. The 7th star of the 7th house burned with an unnatural light. A child was born that very night. They named her Elara. Hope now had a name, a face, a destiny. Malachor felt a grim stirring within his ancient heart. Not fear, but something akin to dark satisfaction. His long, weary wait might soon be over. The prophecies were coming to pass. He observed Elara's growth from his distant shadowed keep. She was trained in combat, in law, in the history of his tyranny. She was the kingdom's final, desperate hope. The day of the prophesied confrontation drew ever closer. Elara, now a young woman, stood tall and resolute. Her people looked to her with shining, desperate eyes. The bards sang songs of the coming battle, the clash that would decide the fate of their world. The Dark Lord prepared himself, not for victory, but for his long-awaited, glorious defeat. He yearned for the hero's blade. On the eve of the expected battle, Elara arrived. She stood before the gates of the Dark Lord's fortress. She came alone. There was no army behind her, no defiance blazed in her eyes, only a profound, unsettling sadness. The Dark Lord awaited the challenge, He awaited the fury. He craved the righteous anger that would finally end his pain. He needed her to strike. But Elara did not draw her sword. She did not utter a war cry. Instead, she knelt upon the cold, unforgiving stone. She produced a small, sharp dagger, its edge gleaming faintly. Before the Dark Lord could react, before his ancient mind could process her intent, she plunged it into her own heart. A soft gasp. Her lifeblood stained the dark earth before his gates. A single scroll lay at her feet beside her still form. The Dark Lord, his senses reeling, picked it up. The script was clear, elegant, and utterly damning. "You have won, Dark Lord," it read, "and forever lost. I will not be a pawn in your twisted game for release. Your suffering is your own to bear." The words were a spear. They pierced his immortal soul. A rage unlike any he had ever known consumed Malachor. A despair so profound it threatened to shatter his very being. His carefully crafted plan, his desperate hope for oblivion, all turned to ash. He had been outmaneuvered, not by strength, but by an understanding of his deepest secret. He roared, a sound that split the mountains. His agony was complete. In his boundless fury he unleashed his full terrible power, not upon an enemy, for there was none left worthy of the name. He destroyed Ethelgard. He shattered his own dark fortress into dust. He tore the very land asunder. Then, with nothing left but his own unending existence, the Dark Lord retreated. Deep beneath the mountains he went, into eternal darkness, condemned to live in his victory, his despair, his eternal unyielding agony.